Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new podcast, and they were classmates.
Oh my God, they were classmates.
My name is Jesselyn.
And my name is Nolan. I'm transitioning female to male. Do you want to hear my male voice?
Sure.
Okay.
Heat from fire, fire from heat. Okay, this is my male voice. I've been working on it for a couple, like a year now. Yeah. I'm kidding. Unfortunately, I'm going male to female. I'm Nolan. Sorry.
This is Nolan.
Sorry.
And this podcast we originally started for a class, which is why, hence the name. Mm-hmm. We started this for a class.
And now it's actually in post tense.
Yeah,
now past tense.
Yeah, now it is in post tense because this is
classmates.
Technically, this is our finals week. This is my last finals week. I'm graduating with my bachelor's this semester.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not.
It happens. That's what happens when one of us is 4 years younger than the other one.
Yeah.
But I thought we would start off this. Usually our podcast is going to be kind of a smorgasbord, if you will. I tend to just kind of pull Reddit posts that I want to talk about because I love the internet. Woo woo! I am chronically online. But today I wanted to start with you guys getting to know us. Mm-hmm. It's hard to listen to a podcast without knowing who the hell you're talking to.
We're unknown freaks.
Yeah, we don't have it. We are niche internet micro celebrities.
In some ways.
Yeah. Each in our own unique, fun way.
How popular is your most popular thing you've ever put on the internet?
I have a couple TikToks that are over 1 million views.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I have a lot of likes on TikTok. Like I don't have a sustained audience, but I have like a handful of 100K plus, like 200, 500, but I have I think 3 that have gone over 1 million.
Right.
And I think almost all of them are about movies. Because I know one of them is about the Prince of Egypt, for sure.
I have
just be like that.
I have a video on YouTube with I think 350,000 views.
I think that's what it was because I just looked at your YouTube channel last night.
Yeah. The full extended universe of every channel.
Yeah. The Nolan extended universe is truly interesting. Oh, I have one TikTok over 1 million, but it's almost to 2 million right now. I misremembered.
We in my freshman year, because TikTok was still kind of new then, someone made they were literally just recording school basketball games and just uploading just tiny clips, and they got big like that, over 1 million, and everyone was freaking out.
Yeah, sports highlights go crazy on TikTok. No, but so other important information. Like I said, I'm graduating. I am turning 23, so I am in my early to mid 20s, depending on how you define it. Whereas Miss Nolan here is just wrapping up her teens.
It is true. I'm 19 until next February. Then I'll be 20. That's scary, but oh well.
Yeah, then you'll be in 20s land with me, where age starts to feel a little too real.
Yeah.
Do you know how scary it is turning 23? That's a real age.
Yeah, 23 is always my benchmark. Whenever a online influencer hits 23, or it's usually just the people I end up following are around that age.
Yeah.
And so I just think of that as the official adult age.
Yeah,
you know?
That's terrifying as someone that's about to hit it in, let's see, as of recording 9 days.
Ugh. Yeah.
So I just feel when I was even when I turned 22, you can still kind of, there's a whole Taylor Swift song where it's I don't know, I'm feeling 22, woo. But then you hit 23 and it's what's your career? Everyone
Do you have this figured out yet?
Yeah, everyone keeps asking when I'm getting married. Because for context, I've also been in a long-term relationship. I've been in a relationship with my lovely, lovely boyfriend, Ace, since 2016. So, as of recording, we've been together for 8 years.
Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I've spent literally someone argue my entire adolescence with Ace because it depends on when you count my adolescence as starting.
Right.
Because some people count it around 12, 13, and some people consider it more 14, 15, 16.
Yeah, I think I would consider it 14, 15, 16.
Yeah, but either way, most, if not all of my adolescence I've spent with this man. And to be fair, he also spent most of his adolescence with me. So, works out well. I feel bad because I kept making fun of him when he turned 23 because he's 2 years older than me.
Yeah.
And now I'm turning 23, and I think it's I don't remember what band it is. There's a band that there's a song and one of the lyrics is "Nobody likes you when you're 23," And I got him that on a cake, like for his birthday. And I know on my 23rd birthday, I'm going to get that back. But for my graduation party, they're also doing it on my cake. It's going to say, did it in technically for, because I took a gap year.
Yeah.
I took a gap year because COVID wiped out my savings for a little bit. But yeah, so that's, I don't know. There's not a whole lot to really super get into.
Mm-hmm. I don't have a lot to be like, hey, I'm this and this. I don't know. I make content sometimes on YouTube. Actually, exclusively. I was going to say YouTube and TikTok. It's just YouTube.
Yeah, I'm the TikToker. I use every social media that you don't, which is everything but YouTube.
Yeah, pretty much. I make shit sometimes. That's it.
It happens. I thought that I could start off this podcast because usually I like pulling up Reddit stories that I find because I don't spend a whole lot of time on Reddit, but I do spend a lot of time listening to Reddit stories. I love them. I listen to them in the background while I'm showering. Well, I was listening to them while I was showering this morning and on my way here. Yeah. I just like listening to them because I don't want to have to sift through all of the junk in Reddit to find the good stuff. So before we get into some of the junk that I found on Reddit, no, I found the good stuff, I think. But I wanted to tell you about my weekend.
Oh yeah.
Because so I do this thing where every Sunday I hang out with some friends that I haven't seen in a while. We call it Buddy Sunday. And
Buddy Sunday.
Yeah, so we've called it that we've called it that for like a year now. Like on my calendar every Sunday, it's just written Buddy Sunday. But this recently, one of my friends, Shelby, hasn't been able to join us because she's been working. She got a new job, and so she works second shift. So it's really hard for her to show up when she's working until 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Happens. We hang out during the week instead. But so it was me and her boyfriend because he was fixing my car, and our other friend, Ollie, and we were all hanging out. And it started, first of all of this happened yesterday. Everything I'm going to tell you happened yesterday for me, right? So it starts with me going to my great Uncle Mike's funeral.
Right. Good start.
Very good start. It was actually a really good service and everything. The most insane, there was actually something insane that happened during the service, which was that this pastor did a sick Chumbawamba reference towards the end. Because we were talking, because it was a very Christian service, because my Uncle Mike was very involved in our church. And so he just did a full sermon about death and how it's not the end for Christians and all that. And he was specifically talking about how it's not because of Jesus, because Jesus died and came back again, because I get back down and I get up again, and they're never going to keep me down. I get knocked down and I get up again, and they can never keep me down. And the eternal words of Chumbawamba, direct quote. That is exactly how he hit it. And I could see, as soon as I could see him light up a little bit. When I could tell where he was going. As soon as he said, I get knocked down, I was like, he's not. He's not. Mind you, my pastor's a 50, he's a middle-aged man. Super, very, clean cut, just regular, probably if you imagine, a middle-aged pastor, with, that still has, hair and everything,
right.
Then you're yeah, you're probably picturing pretty close to him.
Okay.
So it was really funny for him to hit the sick Chumbawamba reference during my great Uncle Mike's funeral. My great Uncle Mike was born in 1937. No, earlier than that.
Right.
So no, but so then after that, I meet up with Blake and Ollie, and they come over, and we go to my mother's house because at my mom's house, Ace has a car parked that we bought for $500 in 2020 and ran for about a year. And we haven't been able to keep it consistently running since. And Blake loves the project, and Ollie was there for the ride. So Blake came over with all of his tools, and we fixed up that car, found a wasp nest in the gas can. My mom invited over all of her neighbors for some reason, and then got a little mad that we left after we were done fixing the car, which was the plan.
Right.
But she did order us pizza, which is pretty cool. Shout out to my mom for that one. Thanks, Mom. You ordered me my friend's pizza.
I'm 23.
I'm 23. In my defense, everyone there was over 21.
Right.
So we were all just enjoying the fact that someone wanted to buy us pizza besides ourselves. Oh, we were all so poor right now because I spent $200 on car parts to get this car running.
Right.
Because current plan is to get it running to sell it. Because Facebook Marketplace inflation is insane. We bought it for $500 off a friend. We're going to sell it for at least $1,500 by the time Blake's done with it.
Definitely.
So we do all that. We took my mom's car out for a drive because my mom is disabled, so it's kind of hard for her to get out and drive around. And she drives a stick. So most people can't drive her car, but Blake can. So all of us piled in my mom's car and just kind of drove it around for her. He did stall it once. I'm calling him out right now because Blake turned around at the beginning, was like, you can't make fun of me if I stall the car because I haven't driven a stick for a while. And I, who cannot drive a stick, of course, has to make fun of him for stalling the car. Because if you don't drive a stick right, it will stall and completely die. And we had to completely restart the car.
Right.
Almost in someone's driveway while we were trying to turn around. So we were all like, Blake. So I needed to do a public call out post for him. And then on the way back, my back window fell off the track and started falling into the car door. I had to hold it up. And I had to I think I put it back on the track once we got back, but it was kind of insane to have to hold the window up so that we'd be able to pull it back out and try to realign it onto the track. And then from there, we went to my house because we were going to fix my brakes, and my driveway's a little wider. So it's easier for Blake to be on either side and for him to set up a jack and everything, And we do that, and we look and we realize we don't have all the parts we need because my car is a little older. And he was like, well, all the parts stores are closed. I don't want to leave you without a car tomorrow. Let's just do it tomorrow. We were like, yeah, cool, whatever. And as soon as he says that, we hear sirens, and that's not out of the normal. I live near the hospital. And then we see a car speed by going 80 past my front door, followed by 5 police officers, and then 3 more come up the side street. And I live near a hospital. So they pulled into, there's a roundabout in the front of the hospital, right? And so they shoot through the roundabout and into the parking lot. Right. And this is one of those complicated, older parking lots that's all meridians, because it's 3 different hospital buildings on one that are sharing one parking lot, It's they call it a campus technically. Whenever you schedule an appointment there, it's at the hospital campus.
Right.
Which is really funny to me for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And so we drop everything, stick Blake's tools in my car, lock it, and sprint because we're within running distance. We sprint across the street, through down the road, across the parking lot, so that we could see that this car, because we saw them try to pit maneuver them from in front of my house. Right. So we were we have to go see if this guy got caught.
We gotta see the drama.
Yeah. So we sprinted over there. The guy got pit maneuvered, clearly because his rear driver's side wheel was under his car. He had gotten teed in by 2 police officers after getting pit maneuvered, and then so when we realized that, we were like, we can get closer without getting stopped by the cops if we just pull by in a car, because it's right by a bunch of roads.
All right. So we're just driving?
Yeah. So we all piled into Blake's pickup truck because he brought his work truck. Because he just got a garage that he and his friends are working out of for a racing thing they want to do. So he has a work truck now. And so we all piled in my boyfriend Ace gets in the front seat so that he can direct. And then me and Ollie just pile in the back because of course we do. Because it's a 1 line of seats cab, and I think it's called a single cab. I never remember the difference between a single and a double cab because I've never owned a pickup truck. Right. But so we do that, and we all go by and get our videos and everything, because that was when we saw everything, and they were searching the car very carefully. They had all the windows, all the doors open, the back open. There's 6 cops all checking. I'm like, oh, okay, so they were definitely traffic, taking something across borders that they weren't supposed to. Maybe they're coming down from Canada or something. Right. Either that, or there's a lot of businesses nearby. It could have been I don't know what happened. All I know is what I saw. So then after that, because we were all already in the car, we decided there is a walking trail that's also by my house. So we just kind of drove down there and parked there so we wouldn't have to walk back to my place after walking back from the trail. And after a while, it was getting dark at this point. We went down there when it was do you know what I mean when I say it's cotton candy skies time? Yeah. Where it's sunset, but it's not quite the pretty, the most pretty part of sunset, where it's all the really intense, but it's not really nice, light blues and pinks and everything, where you're kind of oh, the sun's starting to go down. I should go home. Yeah, we walked into the woods. Right. So we were, just walking the trail. And we off trailing, because I know that whole trail the back of my hand. I've been climbing around all of the trees in that trail forever. So I don't mind going off trail and kind of climbing around stuff that maybe we aren't technically supposed to, because the trail goes under one of the main bridges in town. So there's a part where you can climb up, and you can climb up right underneath that bridge, and there's so much really interesting graffiti and stuff up there. So we like going up there.
I have a bridge like that by me.
Yeah,
but it's
but
like just in walking distance, and I'm like, that's cool.
It's just also unfortunate that we also found what I refer to as lightly shat pants. Multiple pairs.
Interesting.
Yeah. We climbed up under the bridge, and we found one, and we're like, that's not out of the normal, because like there's a lot of homeless people that live on the walking trails in because it's one of the most. It's a lot of cops don't like going down there. It's a good place to go if you don't want to get bothered, as long as you aren't planning on starting trouble. They usually won't come after you about it, at least from what I've heard. I don't know. But so like finding like soiled clothes and stuff isn't like super weird, especially like random discarded clothes underneath the bridge. It's like, yeah, like, do you know how many times I've just found like shitty toddler pants down there because a parent was like, oh, well, you just shat your pants. Throw it out the window.
Yeah.
Because, you know, people make so many good decisions on that bridge when it comes to throwing things off. But it was just interesting that we found at least 5 pairs.
That's crazy.
Like, because one was just like sitting on the ground, and we were like, yeah, that's normal. Like, got thrown off, whatever. But then there were some that were like pushed in, like in very specific places on the bridge. Like they were hidden.
Right.
And we were like, okay, at least you felt some shame at some point about this. Because we of course our headcanon is it's the same person that was having a really bad day. Someone just needed to give up and just accept. No, but then after that, you can reach the train tracks really easily. Like you're basically on the train tracks at that point. So we were like, let's walk on the train tracks for a little bit. I will not say whether they're active or abandoned train tracks, because that depends whether it's a felony. But I will say,
right.
So I don't know if I've told you this. I never tell anyone what train tracks I walk on.
Sure.
Because my friend who's a photographer actually got a ticket for doing professional photographs on an abandoned train line. Because it's technically illegal.
Right.
To like just being on the train tracks at all, it was like trespassing technically. Yeah. But it's also the best way to walk when it's 9 p.m. in a forest and you still want to be out there for a little bit. Right. So we just followed the train tracks for a while to see if we could find like anything interesting, you know, railroad spikes, old pieces of metal, you know, just random stuff. Blake loves just putting stuff on his walls like that. Right. He has a bunch of old random signs that we found like in the woods. And we were like, oh, this is an old duck crossing sign from the 70s. We're going to clean this up and put it on your wall. Like, we're looking for that kind of thing. And we walked all the way out there, listening to Skyrim ambiance music, by the way. Gotta. Because that's what I love doing that. If I'm walking in the woods, I'm putting on Skyrim ambiance. If I'm walking in the city, I'm putting on Fallout. Like Fallout Pip-Boy radio music, because I'm a nerd. Right. And I have ADHD, so I need stimulation. Right. So we were doing that, and it got dark enough, and we were far enough. Like, we were at kind of the edge of town by that point, where we were like, maybe we should walk back. So we finally did, and we walked, like, past, it's pitch black. We're walking with our phone lights and Skyrim music playing. Blake had the grand idea to switch to Skyrim fight music. Because so every so often...
might encounter some.
Yeah, in case we have an encounter. It was really funny because what it ended up turning into was each of us just like trying to sneakily trail back so that we could run up like it was like because again we're all nerds. Yeah. It's just a bunch of nerds walking down the train tracks yelling at 8 p.m. at 10 p.m. And sorry, I just went through all the times there. No, it was like 9 p.m. at this point because it was dark.
Different time zones, different times.
Exactly.
We're just adapting.
Yeah, I'm making our show coastal, you know. No, but so we do all that, and on our way back, we have like our flashlights down because we don't want to step. We know there's a bunch of glass. There's so much glass on the train tracks all the time, especially because homeless people are down there. So there's also like old like alcohol bottles, just random pieces. Like there's phones and stuff down there too, like just trash. So we don't want to step in that. So we're all like, okay, none of us are wearing hiking shoes. Let's all phones down, whatever. And I thought I saw this like giant. Well, we saw like a couple dead possums and stuff on the way. So, and we saw a bunch of like big chunks of concrete. So I walked up, and I'm walking along like on the railroad ties. Is that the word? Like the wood parts?
I think so. Yeah.
Trying to stay out of the gravel where I can't see if there's glass underneath there. And I noticed this like big gray thing. And I'm like, oh, it's probably like concrete. And I almost step on it. And I'm like, oh, my bad. And then as I'm walking, Blake goes, Jess, did you see this? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, it's a cat.
Oh my goodness.
It was just like tucked in, like it was like tucked way the hell in, like pushing its body into the railroad track, like the metal part, because we don't have electric railroad tracks around here, which is nice. Makes them easy to walk on and grab fun signs from. But we were doing that, and we look at it, and it keeps like meowing at us. So we thought it was feral. So we all like kind of like back up and like make like a circle around it, because all of us have animals. All of us have cats. I'm the only one that's never had a dog. Like we are animal people. So I assumed it was because all of them smelled like cats. So I told them to back up, and I kind of went forward because I don't have any at my house. Like I don't have any pets of my own because I live with my family. So I didn't smell like anything. So I went up to it, and we were kind of like looking around, like we had our flashlights on. We were checking to see, because we realized it wasn't feral. Like it didn't have its ears down. It wasn't like hissing. It was just kind of like, you know?
Yeah.
And we were like, well, that's not like aggressive. That's defensive. She's nervous, but she doesn't want to hurt us. And that's weird for feral cats. So we're like, so this isn't a feral cat. But it also clearly wasn't like a house cat, because it was like, it was this really pretty like gray smoky cat, like true smoky gray cat, where it's like the I think it's called like blue smoky. So we thought it was a house cat at first, but it was too like, it had like tufts of fur missing. You know, you can kind of tell when it's like a stray.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of rental properties in my area that people just dump cats when they leave. So we actually take care of a lot of stray cats at my house. They love coming up to visit because my boyfriend and I spend all of our time on the porch. But we didn't recognize this cat or anything. We were like, oh, this is kind of weird. And then I looked at it and I was like, you know, its butt's really wet. And we thought it was like its hind legs were hurt at first. And then I was like, no, it's giving birth. And they were like, what? And they were like, no, and then I'd like point out, there was a kitten poking out of it because it was actively giving birth against the train tracks.
Oh.
Mind you, it's 10 p.m. It's pitch black.
Yeah.
We are not close enough to any civilization to take this cat anywhere realistically.
Yeah.
So we were all just kind of like, good luck.
Yeah.
Like it was, but we all felt really bad.
Yeah.
Like, because like cats are really good at giving birth for the most part. Like, I don't know if you've ever had a cat that had kittens. But they tell you to just leave it the hell alone.
Sure.
Because cats pretty much know what they're doing when it comes to giving birth. Most mammals have figured it out significantly better than we have.
Yeah.
So it's like humans have actively evolved away from easier birth, and then we insist on lying on our backs like that's gonna help us any. Whereas cats, like they got it.
Right.
Usually the main problem that you'll run into with a cat giving birth to kittens is umbilical cords being tied around the kittens' necks. But you can't really do anything about that.
Yeah.
You know, like the most you can do is if the cat's in distress, you might have to come help it. But we couldn't sit there for cats can give birth for up to. So I think we had a cat that gave birth for like 8 hours once.
Yeah.
Just because like it's just how it goes, and we were like, we can't just sit here with this cat. We can't move it anywhere because it's trying to get. It's literally giving birth.
Right.
Because it wasn't even like, if it had been earlier, we might have been able to do something about it. Or I was talking to my boyfriend today. I was like, if it had been just the two of us, I probably would have made him help me pick up that cat and its kitten and get it at least like into the brush instead of against the train tracks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But the more I thought about it, we were all just kind of like, you know, it's a really nice night. It's like, because it was beautiful out. It was like, it was still in like the 70s with the sun down. Like it was a nice breeze. We were like, this is actually probably the best place. Like, because in the brushes, there's probably a bunch of other animals, a bunch of birds. Like, we're like, this is probably the best place for her to give birth. And it's late enough that no like trains are going to come along here if they use this track. You know, we were like, if this track is even used, because I wasn't familiar with the section of track we were on at that point. So I was like, I don't know if they use this section anymore, even if I wanted to. Because there were parts of it, all of the train tracks in Illinois, there are chunks of it that aren't active, and you can usually kind of tell by like, you know, whether there's gravel there or whatever. But it was so dark that like I had no clue. I was just kind of like, I know if we follow this track, it'll head us back to the trailhead, and it's easier for us to follow this track right now than it is for us to try and walk in the wooded trail. Because the wooded trail is like, you know, down right next to the river, and it's all covered with trees, and it's beautiful. It's even darker than the cleared out, because at least when we were on the train tracks, we had like the light from the sky, and we had some light from houses that we could see, because we got to the point where there was houses on both sides of us. So we legitimately went, this is actually safer at this point.
Right.
Like even if like cops stop us and are like, hey, you need to get off the train tracks, we'll be like, we need to get back to the trailhead, like because we have to get back to our car.
Right.
But yeah, and after all that, we made it all the way. We finally made it back. I I keep thinking about that cat though.
Yeah.
Like I'm so glad that it's such a nice day today. Cause like as soon as I called my boyfriend to like wake him up today, I was like, yeah, and I was like, and I have like this and this to do today, you know, whatever. And he was like, how do you think those kittens are doing?
And you're like, no, I was just thinking about that.
And I was like, no, I've been thinking about it all night.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was like, it was such a crazy day. And then after that, everyone came over and we played Fortnite until I genuinely fell asleep playing Fortnite. So it was like, it was just like such a weird day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and after we went, I almost forgot, after we went hiking, we all piled back into Blake's truck and we just kind of cruised around. While Blake and Ace were up front, so Ace could navigate because Blake isn't from town, so he doesn't like really know. He knows where the things that he needs are.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he knows where my house is. He knows where like the main drag of town is. Like he knows where like the stores that he usually goes to are. But if I told him like, hey, I need you to go over to like, if we're here, I need you to navigate back to my house. He'd be like, what?
Right.
So when we're cruising, usually Ace or I is in the cab, so or like up next to Blake, so we can direct him. And for once, it was Ace up there and me in the back. And we were just cruising around, and we went to McDonald's or like because it was the only thing that was open.
Yeah.
And we wanted fries because we'd been driving around for a couple hours, and we'd hiked, and we hadn't eaten anything since my mom's house.
Right.
When she ordered us a pizza. Mm-hmm. So we were all like, we need food. McDonald's is opening on this side of town.
Yeah.
Sorry, boycott, but we need.
It's survival. It's survival.
In my defense, I very much tried to root for Wendy's or Taco Bell, and I got outvoted because everyone else was like, we want McDonald's fries. We got 4 large fries, and while we're in line for McDonald's, for the listeners at home, in my city, there's a very devout cruise culture on Friday and Saturday nights. Mm-hmm. The main drag, it's actually gotten so bad that so many businesses close early on Fridays. Like, there's a lot of businesses that close early on Friday and Saturday nights now because they just don't want to deal with it. They'll like block off their parking lots if they don't want people parking in there. I don't think it's that bad because I'd rather people cruising up and down the main drag at 1 a.m. than cruising up and down like residential at 1 a.m.
Right.
You know. But whatever. I don't work on the main drag anymore, so I don't know. But when we were in line at McDonald's, Blake couldn't roll. Blake was having us order from the bed because he was like, I don't feel like turning my music down. He's like, I'm just gonna pull forward and you guys handle it, and we'll hand you back the card. And we're like, yeah, cool, whatever. So we're doing that, and while we're in line, like ordering, there's a white pickup like in like a corner spot that starts yelling out our window about how us kids need to go to bed. We have school tomorrow, and that we should have been out yesterday or the night before. And Blake got so mad and Blake and Ace didn't hear it because they had the music on. So when we pulled forward, I was like, hey, did you guys hear her? And they were like, no. And so Ollie and I told them what he said. I told him what she said. And as we drove by, Blake threw his fries out the window at our car.
Oh, my goodness.
And yelled, we're all adults, bitch.
Yeah. Well,
I was like, yeah, like, thanks for proving our point.
With the like ordering pizza and like walking on railroads, this really sounds like a story from like someone who's 16.
I know.
I'm not gonna lie.
I know. That's why it's like insane. Because like all of us are like, it's like 21, 22, 23, and 25.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
We're too old to be doing these
It feels like everyone should be like 10 years younger to be telling this story.
But see, the worst part is that we've all been doing it since we were all 16.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just the hooligan shit that we enjoy doing, and we don't get to do it very often because like Ollie lives like super far away because he went to college in Illinois.
Yeah.
And we do not live near Illinois. So and he is, I don't know where exactly he is out there, but I know he's like in the area of Illinois. I don't think he's actually in Illinois proper anymore though. Mm-hmm. Doesn't really matter. It's a big city. It's not a big city, but it's a college town, so there's a lot of like a decent amount of people there. And it's kind of like Stout, where it's like it's a tiny town, but there's so many college students there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was just like an insane. So we tried to get into like more shenanigans when Ollie is there, but we were like, dude, you summoned like all of the insane stuff. Because like going down to walk by the trail is like a normal thing for us. We play Pokemon Go. Mm-hmm. We love going down there and catching Pokemon and doing whatever, and like exploring the drains and stuff that are down there. Because there's a bunch of abandoned infrastructure down there. Because I'm in an older part of town, mm-hmm. Or like just cruising around isn't anything out of the ordinary. I love sitting in a car with all the windows down or in a truck bed and just feeling all the wind as we drive around and listen to music. Like, it's just chill.
Yeah.
But it was just funny that we happened to do like all of the hooligan shit possible, and there was an event at every single part of the way.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where I was like, if anyone else told me this story, I don't think I would believe that it all happened in one day. Like, that's so much between like seeing it, because that was the first time I'd ever seen a car chase. And it went right by my front door of my house in the middle of town. Like, so, like a very difficult part of town to navigate too, because it's all old streets. So it's a lot of like one ways and like tiny streets and like streets that are technically connected, but there's like 3 tiny chunks of them because they all face the same way, you know? So it's also a really weird place to be running from.
Yeah.
Our theory was that there's a major way out of town that's closed on the south side of our city. I think they were trying to get through that road and then realized it was closed and they couldn't get out of town that way and panicked.
Right.
And tried to find another way out because that way out of town is south and that goes to the state border. So I'm guessing they were trying to find another way to the state border by cutting through town, but it's really annoying to get through my side of town because it's a bunch of neighborhoods that weren't. My neighborhood's one of those neighborhoods where my house was built in, I want to say 1910. No, it's older than that, I think. I think my house was built in like 1905. So like some of the houses have been there longer than the streets have been.
Right.
Like my house and like some of the other houses. And it's also gotten weird because of that hospital campus that's near there has expanded so much. Because it used to just be like one building and now there's a building.
Now it has to be referred to as a campus.
Yeah, now it's a campus because there's multiple buildings on it. They completely rerouted like 3 roads for it, where it's actually considerably more difficult to get to my house if you don't know where my house is now. Because mine is in one of those stupid chunks where it's like, it used to be connected, but then they moved all the streets around for the campus. So now it's not connected to the rest of either side of the road that I'm on. So people will be like, oh, what street do you live on? I'll be like, I live on this street. It's on the corner of this street and this street and across from this. Look for that instead of actually trying to find my street because I'm in the little fuck off part.
Right.
That's what I refer to it as. Like, it's so bad that at one point, when I have AAA, AAA was requiring me to refer to my street name as the highway that it turns into, even though my section of the road does not connect to either side of the highway that it's technically a part of, or like the county road or whatever it was. I don't remember because it was like 4 or 5 years ago. I just remember how happy I was when I called and I told them the address and they were like, that's not the address we have on file. The one that we have on file is on this street. And I was like, it's actually on the street I live on now. Instead of me having to remember this random county road that it turns into. Because again, I'm in the center of town.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason for me to have to refer, like, it doesn't make sense for me to refer to my street by the county road that it turns into, because you can the street sign is on my corner.
Yeah.
That says the street name and because I live on a corner, so it's right there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just an insane turn of events that I was like, I really felt like I was just along for the ride.
Yeah.
Even though it was, literally to fix mine and my boyfriend's cars. I spent $200 getting that car fixed. I mean, I was fixing it because it was there was a wire on the desk that was a little messed up, so I fixed it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cats giving birth and shit. That's crazy.
Yeah, the cat was probably the most insane part and the part that I keep thinking about.
It would be on the cover of the book if.
For real.
Honestly, even if that was just a story in the book, that would be the cover.
Honestly, we're really experiencing like the circle of life today. We're bringing cars back to life that were dead. We had to jump my mom's car to get it to run.
Right.
And then we saw like a couple dead possums and like we saw like some skulls and stuff. That's another thing we were looking for. Is like we were just looking for like dead animal skulls and bones and stuff like that, because I'm a big enjoyer of vulture culture. You know what vulture culture is?
Not quite. No.
So vulture culture is people that go and try to find dead animals that like died of natural causes so that they can ethically harvest their bones.
Okay.
I enjoy having bones. I think they're really neat. So I have a couple of I have some rat skulls that I found and a possum skull.
Cool.
And one of my friends, but I have like friends that have insane collections. They have like whole like cat skeletons that they've cleaned themselves and then sent to a taxidermist to have put into like the shape of an actual cat.
Yeah.
one of my friends actually did that with her cat when it died. She got permission. You have to like get permission. I think she had to get permission from the state.
Sure.
Because you have to be certified to do something like that, like commercially. But for the most part, if you're like me and just like bones, you can indulge in vulture culture by going to your local walking trail and just trying to find stuff that like died of natural causes but isn't super far into the decomp process. Because then you can put it into like, I put it into what I call a bug box. I borrow it from a friend. I don't have one of my own. But she has a box that's just full of decomposer bugs that are like, you know, they would come and eat the dead bones anyway. So we just kind of put it into a box in her yard so that they can just feed off of it. And then when the bones are clean, she gives them back to me.
Yeah. Ethically sourced bones.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I like about them is that I know, like, even if I don't know exactly how the animal died, I know that it wasn't just killed for me to have its bones. I know that it's like I found it. I took care of it.
Unless you believe in destiny. Then the animal was placed there for you.
See, that's the theory, is that the animal was there for me.
Right.
I don't know. I just think it's really neat. It's like a really fun hobby and even if I didn't own bones, like I think I would still be really into it because I think it's just like a fascinating thing. But I'm just fascinated by death in general. I think it's a side effect of being raised Christian. Yeah. Like genuinely. The Lutheran urge to be like, yeah, death isn't that big of a deal. But I guess to get into more of our traditional format with a little bit of time we have left, I pulled up one of my favorite Reddit stories of all time. Legitimately, this is an old story. It's from 9 years ago. From user defenestrate me now.
That means to be thrown out a window.
Yes, it does. Would you like to? It's from r/today I fucked up. It's from defenestrate me now. Would you like to guess the title of today's story?
I was thrown out a window.
Today I fucked up by being thrown out a window.
Yeah.
All right. So I pulled this up. It's today I fucked up by throwing my steak out a window.
Okay.
So for those who don't know, Today I Fucked Up is a Reddit is a subreddit on Reddit, which is a forum based social media. It's like the last forum based social media, pretty much, at least mainstream. So on Today I Fucked Up, people just post what they did. They use TIFU. And actually, Today I Fucked Up is it's kind of it was Reddit's answer to FML. Do you remember that? That might be before your time.
As like a term, I remember it. Yeah.
Do you remember the app that it came from?
No.
Yeah, so FML came from an app. Because there used to be an app that was it was just Fuck My Life, and it was just these stories.
Right.
And once FML shut down, it became a subreddit. So that's where the FML subreddit comes from. And Today I Fucked Up was Reddit's version of FML for a very long time.
Right.
And FML was where I really got into this, like, reading, oh, I feel so bad. Like, what is it? Cringe by proxy would be a good way to put it. Yeah. Like, I love that stuff. So Today I fucked up by throwing my steak out a window. I hope you're ready. Last night, my wife's boss from her brand new job invited us over for dinner. On the drive over, my wife reiterated many times to me just how important it was to make a good impression. I scoffed and arrogantly informed my silly wife that I always make good impressions. My wife's boss is a single lady in her 50s, so it was just the three of us. We chit-chatted over drinks and salads and seemed to really be hitting it off. She laughed at my well-timed, perfectly appropriate jokes, and my wife seemed pleased. Soon she brought out the main course, a nice big juicy steak for each of us. As I began to cut into my steak, I was discouraged to discover how undercooked the steak was. Now I've had my fair share of rare steak. I prefer medium, but I can handle rare. Me as the host, Jesse, I'm a medium rare person. I don't know about you.
I don't really fuck with steak all that much.
Really? I love steak.
It's kind of one of those things where growing up, whenever steak was made, my parents would just make Salisbury steak for me and my brother. And so we just like never really had like real steak.
See, that's your problem. I grew up in a family where like weekly we were buying steaks on sale at the store and being like, okay, we're gonna make New York strips tonight. We're gonna have mashed potatoes and corn and biscuits. Like, right. But that's because we also are a grill every day of the year family. Like we love a grill. So we love every meal that we have for dinner as a family is meat and potatoes, pretty much. Yeah. But I'm not saying that is a bad thing. I love meat and potatoes.
My family just makes really dry meat. Like any meat. Oh, my God.
I need you to come over and have a a dentist certified pork chop. Dennis is my dad.
Yeah.
My dad is a very good cook.
Yeah. Like literally I remember being in 3rd grade and just being like, I hate pork. And everybody's like, why? It's so good. And like, I couldn't describe it at the time, but like, it's just my family was so bad at making it.
See,
and it tasted awful.
The same thing happened to Ace's mom, my mother-in-law, as I refer to that's what dude. If we were in any other state, Ace and I would be common law married.
Right.
Like, legitimately. So at this point, they're my in-laws. Mm-hmm. Like, he's my husband.
Right.
No, but so my mother-in-law, she grew up in a family where everything was cooked as much as it could be, just in case, because they grew up because her parents grew up with, like, a lot of meat that wasn't great. Like, they both grew up really poor.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, we have to wash our meat. We have to, we have to do all this stuff to it. So by the time she got it, it was dry.
Yeah.
The pork chops were a hockey puck. Meanwhile, my dad preps his pork chops by marinating them for 8 hours.
Right.
And then throwing them on the grill quickly so he doesn't lose all the moisture in them. So they're really good. My dad's a very good cook. But that was just a side tangent. I was just curious. As OP began to cut into back to the story, as I began to cut into my steak, I was discouraged to discover how undercooked this food was. Now, I've had my fair share of rare steak. I prefer medium. I can handle rare. This was several minutes on a hot grill short of rare. I probably could have resuscitated the cow had I tried. Instead, I sat there fidgeting with my knife and fork, worrying about how I was going to get away with not eating this steak. This is so crazy. My boyfriend's a blue rare person, which is under rare. So, like, all I can picture is, like, if my boyfriend was handed this steak, he would be over the moon. He'd be like, it's still mooing at me? Yes! like, thank God. No, but so, claim veganism? No, I'd already feigned great enthusiasm upon seeing the steak. Just then, our hostess excused herself to the kitchen to take care of some dessert preparations. As I looked across the fancy dining room table at the open window of this 3rd-story apartment, a cartoon light bulb appeared over my head. I knew I had to be decisive, realizing that she could return at any moment. I committed. I grabbed the steak with my hand, gently shook off the juice, and executed a perfect throw right through the center of the window.
Uh-huh.
Here's the big-time fuck-up. The window wasn't open.
Oh.
It was the cleanest fucking window you've ever seen in your life. That is, until my mostly raw slab of steak slammed up on it and slowly slid down, leaving a trail of bloody juice in its wake.
Oh.
My wife, whose steak was a nice medium rare and was unaware of my predicament, turned, jaw dropped, and stared at me like I was from another planet.
Yeah.
This look slowly morphed into a more of a, there is no place on this planet you can ever hide from me expression of anger. Sorry, expression of demonic anger.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God.
My wife's boss heard the thud of the steak on window impact and came quickly. What would you think happened if you were like the host?
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, I'm gonna drop off these steaks. I'll be right back. I have to go and fix dinner. And all of a sudden you just hear like against your window.
Yeah.
Your 3rd-story window, mind you.
Yeah.
So it's like super tall.
Oh my God.
That's so, yeah. She took in the scene, the steak sitting on the windowsill, the blood trail, my empty plate, and then gave me an inquisitive, puzzled look.
What do you say? Oh, it wasn't cooked enough for me, so I threw it like a child.
Sorry, I frisbeed that shit like it owed me money, but I didn't know what to say. I felt like a minute of silence, but it's probably 3 or 4 seconds. And then finally, the best I could manage was, I'm so sorry. I'm such a klutz. I don't know. I was just cutting it and it slipped. Just ask my wife. I really am a klutz. Right, honey? No help coming from that direction. I'll clean this up. I can't believe this. I'm so sorry, etc., etc., etc.
Damn.
Right, honey? That's good.
Yeah.
Dude, if she looked... you just fucked up your wife's dinner with her boss. You can't turn her and be like, I'm such a klutz, right?
Help me in this situation.
No, I'm not. I wouldn't help him
because I've done so much for you.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't help him either. I would have been like, are you? I thought you were a figure skater when you were a kid. You were in gymnastics. You have great balance. Just like really... So both women continued to stare at me like I had escaped from the loony bin as I smeared the blood around the window with my cloth napkin. dusted off the steak, and continued to mutter my incoherent explanation. I knew no one was buying the story, but continued anyways.
Yeah. Well, because even if you come clean and it's like, all right, so look, the steak wasn't cooked enough, not to my preference. I thought that was an open window, so I wanted to throw it and make it look like I eated it because it would be gone.
Yeah, because it's so much worse to be like, hey, the steak's a little undercooked for my taste. Like, would you mind just, like, I'll do it myself even, like, versus, let me just frisbee the shit out your window.
Yeah.
Also, imagine that's her property.
Yeah.
What if she walked out the next morning and just saw your raw, bloody steak on the ground outside of her house?
Maybe an animal would have eaten it, I guess.
Maybe, depends. Depends on, because if she's like a 50-year-old single woman that's like living, like she has like cloth napkins, she's cooking them steak, like she invited them over for dinner, I have to imagine this has to be at least like a high-rise apartment. Sure. Or not like a high-rise, but like it has to be at least like a nice apartment or like a nice community or like a nice condo even, but no matter what, it's like something where it's probably like animals aren't just going to run up and grab it, especially because they don't usually, a lot of mammals don't really like eating like meat that's just sitting out.
Sure.
It's like a biological thing. It's like how humans, like if you leave meat sitting out for more than like 10 minutes, the human brain goes like, ugh.
Okay, like, yeah.
But not all animals have that because they can eat more meat than we can. You know what I'm saying? Right. No, but so I knew what I had to do. I sheepishly returned to my seat and proceeded to eat every bite of that disgusting, cold, chewy, bloody, raw steak. I remained pretty quiet the rest of the evening. My wife's only said 2 words to me. My wife's only 2 words to me since the incident are, "I'm fine." TLDR, tried to sneakily throw my undercooked steak through an open window, only to find out it wasn't open.
Yeah.
It's just so. Top comment is something I wanted to bring up. One question for OP. Let's say the window was open and the steak is gone. She returns a minute later. Do you just tell her you've devoured it? Because I feel like we didn't talk about the timeline here. She just wanted to go and finish something with dessert. And he was worried that she could come back at any moment, so he had to throw this. That was why he had to make a decision so fast. What's she gonna do when you ate the steak in 4 seconds?
Right.
Like, she's gonna come home and she's gonna come back in the room and your steak's gonna be gone and you're just gonna be like, yummy dinner. Like, you know that John Mulaney bit where they were like, when he and his ex-wife were trying to train their dog Petunia because, oh no, you don't. Okay, so they had this, so John Mulaney talked about how, when they got, John Mulaney and his ex-wife had a little, I think it was like a Boston Terrier, some little tiny dog with a very wrinkly smush face, and they named her Petunia. And when they were trying to train her, they ran into a problem because she thought she was top dog. And when they went to the vet about it, the way that they had to get Petunia to like respect them as them being alphas and top dog or whatever, which isn't even a thing, mind you. Like now we know that isn't really a thing with dogs. Like it is with like domestic dogs kind of, but not like people are always like wolves packs and they have alphas and it's like, no, they don't. But with, when you're training your dogs, you do have to establish yourself as the alpha, and they couldn't do that. So the way that they had to do it was the vet found out that they were feeding Petunia first. So she was eating first. So she thought she was top dog because she was getting first pick of the food. So they were like, well, you have to eat before her. But her feed time was like 4 p.m.
Yeah.
So they were like, we're not going to eat dinner at 3:30 in the afternoon. And he was like, well, you don't actually have to eat. You just have to pretend. So they would sit at the table with like empty plates and forks in front of them, in front of Petunia, go, yummy dinner, yummy dinner. And he was like, and I'm pretty sure she could tell like we were just like not eating anything because she never like abandoned that.
Right.
I think if I remember right, he pretty much went like, yeah, she never actually learned anything from it. We just looked like idiots. But I remember it's been a while since I watched that special. I really like John Mulaney, so. But that special specific, like, I've been rewatching, what's the one you just came out? Baby J? Is that what it's called? I don't know. The most recent one that he came out with, it's like Baby J or Baby John or something like that. It was the one that he came out with after his divorce and rehab, which I still think was an insane situation. That was such a parasocial, like, moment because well, basically what happened was John Mulaney, in his stand-up, has said before, I did cocaine. I had a lot of issues with cocaine and drugs. He was on SNL for a long time, like as a writer. And I don't know if you know, the SNL writers' room is fueled on cocaine and coffee. Like they're like it's like an open secret. Like everyone there.
Right.
So so he in I think it was like 2020 had a lot of issues where within 6 months, he announced that he was divorcing his wife, that he had to go back to rehab for cocaine addiction. And he had a new girlfriend within like 6 months of leaving rehab. And then she became pregnant after John Mulaney had made a lot of jokes in the past about not really wanting kids. So like a lot of people were like, I can't believe you'd betray your wife like this. They assumed that he had cheated on her because his ex-wife, Anna Marie Tendler, was very clearly hurt by their breakup. Like, she posted very openly about her pain because she's a photographer and an artist, so it's kind of what you do. And she had, like, kind of hinted that he had cheated, but he and his, I think it's Olivia Munn that he's with now, they've both maintained that there was no overlap. But it was just that he had started going out with her like right after the divorce, and then she got pregnant right away. Like it happens.
Right.
But now he's a very loving father. I love following John Mulaney on social media just to see pictures of his kid. No, but then like during all of that, people were like, I'm going to boycott John Mulaney. I can't believe he'd do that. I can't believe like that's not like him. And it's like in his first comedy special, he was talking about how he was so willing to get drunk at a party that someone came up to him with like a decanter and was like, I can't tell if this is alcohol or perfume. And he grabbed it and he took a swig of it and went, it's perfume, and handed it back. Like it's like he's very open about the fact that he's a very troubled person. So the fact that like when he went into rehab, everyone was like, I can't believe it.
Right.
I'm like, you can't believe an ex-SNL stand-up comic has issues with cocaine? We're lucky that that's the least of his issues. Do you know how many, like, because so much of comedy in Hollywood is run off of, like, entirely prescription meds. They're on uppers and downers, and, like, it's like, oh, you have uppers to help you be funny, you have downers to help you go to sleep at night, you have these because you're a comedian, so you have mental illness.
It's like in The Wolf of Wall Street when he's, like, listing all the shit he's on.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a joke, though. That's, like, the scariest part is that, like, that's part of why I'm going to be so real with you. That's part of why Quaaludes are illegal now, is because people were using them just as a downer to counter the uppers that they were taking because it was the 70s and 80s. So everyone was doing cocaine. Yeah. Because it was the 80s and it was cool. Yeah. It is not cool. Don't do drugs. Don't do cocaine. I don't care how curious you are.
Never.
No, I know a lot of people that joke about how like they're like, I'd do cocaine if I had the opportunity. And I'm like, would you? Would you really? Would you really risk that? Right. Because like I would, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just it was just like a very like that was one of the moments that was part of why the conversation about parasocial relationships came back was because people were like, you guys all like are really mad at John Mulaney for not fitting into this like. People were calling it like the uwu small bean, like, you know, because he wasn't, and they were like, this is a grown man with an extended career in comedy in Hollywood and New York City, which are known for having rampant drug issues. And this is after John Mulaney had gone through like a couple of years where he had made like Big Mouth and his kid show satire thing that I don't remember what it was called. He'd done a whole bunch of stuff because he had this deal with Netflix. So it's like, yeah, it makes sense that he would be like, I can do a little cocaine. Like I can do it just to keep me up, like just keep me working. And then it spiraled so quickly to like, he talked about in the special that it was like, he went to what he thought was like a party. And he walked in and it was like Seth Meyers and like a bunch of SNL guys and like his friends in a room that were just like, you need to go back to rehab. Like, do you know how bad it has to be for them for your friends who are also on SNL to do a cocaine rehab like intervention for you? Like, you guys knew like Lorne Michaels, and you're stopping John Mulaney from doing cocaine. like it can't be good. And I don't know. I'm one of those people where I can't. Like, I saw that happen, and I was kind of like, oh, like, that's really unfortunate for him. I'm sorry he's going through that, and I hope that he's happy with his kid now. Like, you know. But so many people were like, he's an awful human being. You're awful if you watch him. And I'm like...
Don't do drugs, John Mulaney.
And I'm like...
You're my goat.
I'm like, he's a 35-year-old man. he has a child now. He had a wife. He doesn't anymore. But like, it's like and people were so mad that he divorced his wife because he talked about her in all of his specials. Like he would talk about how much he loved his wife and how he loved that she was like, and how he loved her personality and everything like that. And they're like, how can you say all that stuff about your wife and then divorce her? And I'm like, because they're human beings and their lives have drastically changed since they got together.
Well, you said this 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Switching up.
In 2012, you said that you loved your wife. And now in 2020, you're divorcing her? How could you? Things have to stay the same. Like, no. If neither of them were happy, and it seems like John Mulaney very much wasn't happy. Like, and unfortunately, it does seem like Anna Marie was, at least like from the way that she posted about it right after. But she just read her memoir. So maybe my nosy ass will have to go read that. Because I love a memoir. I've been like on such a heavy, I read I'm Glad My Mom Died from Jeanette McCurdy, and now I'm just on like a memoir kick.
Yeah.
I read Spare, which is Prince Harry's memoir. That one's kind of crazy, actually, because that's like, being an American especially, the royals aren't real people to me.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, those are just a bunch of, like, lizard people in skin suits, like, being puppeted by something. Probably Queen Elizabeth's ghost. Or apparently Trisha Paytas' womb. Because have you heard, the closer that we get to Trisha's due date, the worse King Charles is doing. Really? Yeah, like, to the point that the what's it called? The firm, which is like the company that, or the people that are the PR for the royal family, the firm themselves, who never say anything, have put out a statement basically being like, His Majesty is not doing well and everyone is being brought back to the castle, which is what they did right before Queen Elizabeth died. Which would be really funny if he went from the longest reigning, what's it called technically?
Monarch.
Well, no, because there's like a specific term for like prince that's next in line, but it's not like heir. That's not the word I'm looking for. But basically, spending the longest time as like the first in line heir to being the shortest reign.
That is
in
hilarious.
Centuries, literally in centuries.
Yeah.
Because Queen Elizabeth was the longest reign that any English monarch has ever had, if not any monarch.
Right.
Because she was made queen so young. Yeah. And she lived to be so old and refused to abdicate the crown. She was one of the only ones that didn't abdicate the crown as she got older. Right. But that's probably because she got the only reason she got the crown is because her uncle abdicated. So she was like, nope, this is going to my child. But
we're making history.
But I also like to believe that she held on as long as she could, just so that specifically Charles wouldn't get it for very long after the events of 1999. Which, as we all know, Jay Schlatt was sorry.
Did you see his interview with Anthony Padilla?
That's exactly what made me think about it.
That was so good.
That was such like a crossover for me. I thought it was really interesting, just as like a discussion between two different perspectives. Because I feel like you and I ran into that too, where it's a lot of like Schlatt is a lot younger than Anthony. To the point where he was like, yeah, I grew up watching your stuff. Like,
yeah,
I was,
like, Anthony's like having a fucking aneurysm. He's like, how were you 8 when I was making stuff?
Schlatt's my age. Schlatt and I are both 23.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, I thought it was really interesting to see, like, a conversation between, like, the people who made YouTube and the people who grew up on it. Because Smosh was the channel on YouTube when I was a kid. I grew up watching if Pokemon were real, if movies were real, if video games were real. I kind of fell off after, like, even before Anthony left. Because I just kind of aged out of that, like, the, like, skit comedy. And I kind of moved into gaming and vlogs and stuff like that as I kind of went into my teenage years. Yeah. But when I first discovered YouTube, and I didn't know what to do because I didn't know what YouTube was, so I just typed in Pokemon. I knew YouTube as the place where my dad pulled up that really cool video of the house with all the lights on at Christmas every year. Because my dad and I would watch those videos of, like, set up, like, Christmas lights with, like, soundtracks and everything. So when I, like, went on there and I was like, oh, you could look up, like, anything. And I just looked up, like, Pokemon. Yeah. Because and the first thing that showed up was a Pokemon are real from Smosh. And, like, history was made. Like, I watched them. I still watch them. Like, I got back into them once Anthony came back. Definitely. And I don't really watch the main channel content because, again, I'm not I'll watch, like, SNL clips, but I'm not a huge sketch comedy person anymore. Fair. But I love the rest of their content. I love, like, Smosh Pit, Smosh Games, where it's just, like, them interacting as people. But I was also a big BuzzFeed person. Like, I feel like I'm, like, the perfect, like, Gen Z millennial cusper to, like, perfectly enjoy Smosh.
I sort of relate to Schlatt's Drive where he was talking about like the only thing is YouTube for like for like what he wants to do. And I'm like, dang, because that's like kind of me. Because like I have like interests in like media and entertainment, but I've never been able to be like, oh, this specific career. Like for a while, my go-to answer was like video editor. I hate video editing, and I did at the time. But it was like you just need to pick that like, you know, more adult
you're
career.
You're still gonna do all the lovely editing for me, which I appreciate. Thank you so much.
That's audio editing. That's fine. We're fine there. But yeah, I related to it when he was like, you know, it was like, this is the only thing. I could see myself in that point where it's like, well, do you want to retire? It's like, well, what else would I do? It
was kind of weird because he was talking about how, I thought it was really interesting when he and Anthony were talking about how specifically monetization has changed YouTube so much. Because I do remember when everyone was just doing it for the love of the gang. Mm-hmm. I was there for like the peak of like Smosh, Jenna Marbles, Niga Higa, like gaming had just started to kind of cusp. Like PewDiePie was just starting to rise. Like it was like crazy. And everyone was just doing it because it was somewhere you could do that. Like no one was really in it for the money yet.
And if you took a sponsorship, it was like sell out.
It was like, whoa!
You did not put an ad on your video.
Yeah, I can't. I remember when it was like a big deal when monetization first hit the scene in like I think it was like 2009 or 2010, like true monetization, and it was like. Because that was, even before you could really make money off YouTube directly, that was when, like, YouTube Partners started being a thing, and, like, the YouTube Partner Program, and the, like, MCMs and all that. Like, it was so crazy. Like, it was, like, and being alive for all that. And I thought it was really interesting that I came out of that with, like, I thought it was really cool that people used to do it for the love of the game, but it's unfortunate that was more money-focused. Mm-hmm. Whereas Schlatt was a lot more, like, I only remember it being money, like, And I was like, I guess that's kind of a show of like where we each were on the internet. Yeah. Like, because even though like Smosh at the time was very much like they were with, I think at that point they weren't Defy Media. So they were like making money off their sketches and you could tell because they were really high quality, like, you know, all that stuff. But at the same time, I was watching like Jenna Marbles. I was watching Connor Franta, Tyler Oakley, like people who were just sitting in front of a camera and talking. Yeah. And that's what I mean when I say kind of like veered out of that because all the sketch comedy started to become like for profit, which is fine, but it wasn't what I was into. Mm-hmm. I wanted the experience. And I think that's why I still don't really watch a whole lot of like scripted stuff on YouTube. I watch like vlogs and gaming and although I do have a fondness for video essays, I love video essays and Reddit videos, obviously. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just think it's so interesting how things have changed over like the last couple of years. It's gotten crazy.
Oh, yeah. It's post-pandemic, because like pandemic, you had the rise of people like Tommy Innit, and it's like, well, he's 16, and like all these other 16-year-olds are stuck at home. They want to watch, you know, and it's like Dream SMP, and
No, and it's also weird because I was also there for the big change, for a lot of like the big changes that have been spurred by like controversies, like PewDiePie's bridge incident that changed how ads worked on YouTube forever.
That stupid yellow symbol. I remember, so YouTube has kicked me out of the partner program twice, not for breaking the rules, serious? Because they keep changing the threshold. At one point they said, okay, you just need 100 subscribers and 10,000 views. I didn't have that. And I was like, okay. So then September 2017, I reach it and I'm like, all right, finally I can make money. And then they're like, actually 4,000 public watch hours in the last 365 days and 1,000 subscribers. I'm like, okay. And then, well, I guess I just hit that one. But you like in 2016, anyone could apply to partner program.
Yeah.
Like even the fact that I was 16, I think maybe I lied about my age to like get in, but anyone could make money off of their videos. It was insane. And now you need to like become a creator and reach 1,000 subscribers, which is really weird.
Which like it makes sense, but at the same time it's also like, well, now you're kind of just like shutting. Like that's one thing that I really liked. I think they've changed it now, but for a long time the TikTok Creator Fund. Mm-hmm. You needed, the way that it worked was that you needed 1,000 followers to go live. And then once you hit 10,000 or like, and now they brought it down actually. I think now it's down to like 3,000 or 5,000. You can apply for the TikTok Creator Fund. Yeah. Where TikTok basically just pulls all of its ad revenue into one thing and it divvies it up based on who's getting views. Yeah. So like even like I am eligible for the Creator Fund. I have thought about joining the Creator Fund, like genuinely. The only reason I haven't is because I don't upload very consistently. I'm not super interested in becoming a TikToker. Yeah. I was for a while. I was uploading. I don't know if I've told you this. During the pandemic, I was uploading on TikTok 3 times a day.
And like doing what? Just variety, like everything.
Yeah, I was doing a mix of like comedy and just like lip syncing and like challenges. At the time, cosplay was really big. I was doing a lot of this is a little embarrassing, but do you remember during the pandemic there was a huge thing with like the Mafia AU? And like there was like a whole thing in like the cosplay community where they were just making you would just make OCs for these different AUs that the big creators are coming up with. There was like but one of the biggest ones was Mafia based because there were just a lot of audios at the time that worked for it. And it was really unfortunate because it turned out most of the people that were really big in that were actually like awful human beings. But what else is new? It's social media. But like I had like me and my friend Jess both had OCs that we had made because it was 2020. We were both like 19 and bored theater kids who were not being able to do theater. So we both had like supernatural OCs, like supernatural Mafia OCs that were based off like hers was like she was like one body that was an amalgamation of like a lot of like souls that she had taken, like, which I thought was really cool. And then mine was a mafia boss who had gotten offed by she had been offed at one point by her husband, who was the leader of the gang, and she came back from the dead just to get him and take over his fucking thing. Like, we both had like whole storylines written out for these characters. I did SFX makeup on myself for 2 full weeks.
Right.
To record all of these stupid TikToks. And no one watched them.
Yeah. That's the thing. Everyone was trying to be a creator in the pandemic.
Though.
Yeah. And just nobody. I made so many like.
That's why we're doing this podcast. Though. It was like
I was a wannabe Tommy in it so bad.
I can see that. I hate to say it, but I could see that.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was like mocking his like editing style, but it was so bad. And like at the time, I'm like, oh, the algorithm's just ignoring me, and it's like
maybe your content just isn't good.
Yeah.
That was my thing is like I'm still proud of like the backstory and everything that I'd done for that and like how much work I put into it, but explaining it is so embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's like how do I tell people that I wrote this whole like OC, I wrote a whole backstory. I basically wrote a fucking book for someone that I put on a denim black jacket, a red turtleneck. I did like a really nice smoky eye and like red lips, and then put a bullet hole with SFX makeup on my head because I had spirit gum, and I had spirit gum and liquid latex and a dream. Because I don't know if you know this about liquid latex, you don't need to use it as an adhesive necessarily. You can put it on your skin and then it dries and contracts, so it looks like a scar.
Right.
So I had a lot of liquid latex from a show that I had done summer of 2019. Because I was the assistant stage manager for a production of a locally written show that needed one of the leads needed a scar on her face from trying to shoot herself. So I bought so much liquid latex on their card because the production let me. It was for the production. Right. And I was putting the scar on her every single night. I was plastering it on, doing multiple layers while she's trying to get ready. And then like it would be like a layer of liquid latex, a layer of lipstick because it was the right color. And then I would let that dry down. And then it would be another layer of liquid latex so it would start peeling up and looking like gross and scarry because it had to be like a gnarly scar. Yeah. Like it was described in the script as like something that was disfiguring and that she had a lot of issues with because she had missed while she was trying to kill herself. Because the whole show was like suicide awareness, like being there for each other, like, you know, it was a really good show.
Just like Cars.
Oh my God.
We had a presentation where someone was they were going on about how like, well, Cars is this great movie because it kind of teaches us to like really treasure our friends and family. And
Sorry, I would be beating my head with the mic.
Studies show that people who watch Cars are actually more likely to, respect and love their family more.
It wasn't even studies plural. It was studies singular from one university. And I had to stop myself from being like, can you show me?
Well, okay.
Like, can you show me the peer review on this fucking study?
And then he said, okay, it's gross so much, even more than Frozen. And I wanted so bad in the questions to be like, are you aware that Pixar did not make Frozen? Because he was like listing Pixar movies and then he said Frozen. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, no, that was.
And he kept saying Disney's Cars.
Also,
that's Pixar.
Also, I think that fact was just straight up wrong because I looked it up.
You looked it up?
That's the entire Cars. That's what the Cars franchise has made.
Ah.
Versus, and the number that he pulled was from the first Frozen movie. So he wasn't counting the whole Frozen franchise of like Frozen 2 and all the like everything else, like everything they've made for Frozen.
Oh yeah. Including a 22-minute short that they aired in front of Pixar's Coco.
Yeah, I know.
And people were like, "Why are we watching Frozen?"
I legitimately thought I went to see Coco in theaters and I left because I thought I went to the wrong movie.
Yep.
And it was really funny because then I like called Wildwood Theaters and they gave me a refund because apparently a lot of people did that.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh no. That's just so, they didn't even warn anyone.
It should have, like, honestly, for the theatrical release, it should have been like a corner on the poster that said also Frozen Ever After.
Yeah.
Because like that's just an insane decision. Exactly.
Like, and it's not even, I really liked Frozen. I just didn't want to watch that before Coco.
Well, yeah, and if that was before like a
Day of the Dead movie.
If that was before like Big Hero 6, it's like, well, whatever, that's a Disney movie. But it's like you're forcing your Disney woke agenda on our Pixar films. Damn liberals trying to take our Pixar movies and turn them into Frozen.
I love you implying that the liberals want to put Nordic Anna and Elsa in front of Hispanic Coco.
They do.
Like, that's the true woke liberal agenda, as we would know as two queer people.
Yeah.
As part.
We were in the meeting.
I'm fighting the woke mind virus on the side of the virus, but I'm also a double agent. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have to call it at that.
And with woke Frozen,
we call it a day. I so hope that you enjoyed. We will be making more. This is our first episode of the official release.
Yeah. There's a lost media release. It's on a vinyl in Mexico.
And it has so much personal information on it. It's genuinely unsafe for us to share. There
might be an address in there. No, I'm kidding. There's no address.
It actually has my entire social security number in there. I don't know if you noticed when I snuck that in.
You were whispering. I was telling a story and you were whispering something. Was that when that was?
Yeah. That was me whispering my entire social security number along with the exact coordinates of my house.
I was doing my routing number and account number like in Morse code on the mic.
There we go. There we go. All right. Well, hopefully we will probably catch you guys in September. Because I think that's when we're going to be coming back for our real college try at this, even though I will no longer be in college. And hopefully we will see you guys then. Thank you so much for listening.
Goodbye.